The second one, I thought since there was this destruction of the demolition of the 15th century mosque called Babri Masjid, could one address that and how does one address that? I saw drawings made by an architect called Rabindra of the river Saryu, all the buildings on the river Saryu in Ayodhya. And I got quite fascinated because they were actual drawings. What it showed, the second one, I thought since there was this destruction of the demolition of the 15th century mosque called Babri Masjid, could one address that and how does one address that? I saw drawings made by an architect called Rabindra of the river Saryu, all the buildings on the river Saryu in Ayodhya. And I got quite fascinated because they were actual drawings. What it showed were houses of people, some of the old palaces, but also temples, mosques, Gurudwara, all kinds of shrines that existed on the same river. So I borrowed his drawings and began to paint them. Not exactly like a photograph, but I think. One of the things that struck me was that it is a story of marriage from Ramayana. I suppose some of you know it. Marriage was the golden ear that Sita wanted the skin on, and Ram goes inside. But in the Indian literature, the word marriage has become quite potent. And there is also a word called Marichika. Marichika is what marriage creates. It is the illusion. And it's a golden ear, but it's a mirage. He appears and disappears. So I quoted from Pahari painting and from Rajasthani painting, both Ram and Mari. But then I thought that if I were to do Babri, how do you do that? And then it struck me that there was a photograph of the original Babri Masjid. And I got it printed on a copper plate. Small stamp size copper plate. And I embedded it within that. So in a way it is both archiving as well as making its presence there. The third sort of bothered me because there was something which was happening around us. It was basically a kind of a notion of divide in which children were targeted, that the textbooks of children were changed with a view to separate. I don't know whether you know, but such books still exist. They sell in the market that there is a Muslim boy, Hindu boy, Sikh boy, Christian boy, etc. They are all dressed differently, etc., etc. Not only that, but the texts were changed. What does Ka stand for? What does Ga would stand for, etc. And I found that it's worth considering. And I was struck by the idea that Rabindranath Tagore, when he used to write, he not actually erased, but he scribbled over it. If he found that this word was not right, he would scribble and make some kind of a, not necessarily an image, but something, which came out of that. Well, I began to do that. I selected 100 words of sorts from dictionary, from a to, what is it? Gyan. I think, what was it? I chose the word which is something to do with truth. And the last one was Gyan. And if you put together, it would mean agyan, which means ignorance. I was quite interested in sort of making this kind of a problematic. So I took children's books and tore up images and changed the words. For instance, for la, there would be something like what? In Gujarati, it would be lakhota, which means top, that toy. But I wrote many words which were from common parlance, like Lagan, the film, which you would not find otherwise in the thing. But I sort of played deliberately. So all kinds of words which are mixed up, they are all obliterated. And then they are all printed inside the sanctum, on the front and the back. The fourth one I got quite, what shall I say, bit, I didn't find a title for it. So I call it miscellaneous. But I put in it a variety of images, and among the images I felt that, most of the shrines are about the gods. But demons have as big a place, in our stories. And I thought that could one find, demons? And there are many, you don't have to look for them, they are all around. So I have been doing one image called, sort of something called Tree of Life, something like speaking tree. But I constructed a tree made of AK-47, in a way, demonizing it. And I found some of the images. In fact, there was a very fascinating image I came across in a book edited by Dr. B. Goswami. It's story of Hiranyakashipu, in which when Nrsimha kills Hiranyakashipu, after killing, Nrsimha goes mad and keeps on destroying the world. Now, in order to quell the, or perhaps quieten, or to bring him back, the gods go to Shiva, because Nrsimha was Vishnu. And Shiva then takes the form of Sharabha. And Sharabha then finally quells Nrsimha and he quiets. It's very interesting that both of them had to take a demonic form. In a way, Nrsimha with the lion face and then Sharabha. So I used that. There are many other images. I'm just giving you some examples of that. And alongside that, I felt that perhaps one image which has occupied me is image of Kabir, poet Kabir. I don't know, in the south he may not be that popular, but in the north, all over north, right up to even in fact part of Karnataka and Andhra, you see poetry of Kabir, the great poet Kabir. I mean, he is not a synthesizer, or it is not syncretism that it is, but it is something in which he spoke about self-discovery. Tera Sai Tujh mein, jaag sake to jaag. Your own, whatever. Sai ka matlab kya hota hai? Sai is your true self is within yourself. Wake up if you can. So it is actually seeking from within. So I combined these images and I made 4. While I was doing that, I felt that someday I should be making a bigger shrine. Not the one which you could, handle, something you could walk into. So I had to design that. I thought that I would not use any known image. I would only use sort of either marginal or smaller images, not very common. So I would not have Christ, I would not have Vishnu, I would not have. So when I began to collect, many, many images tumbled out, from Jyoto to, Bishandas of Mughal or Rajasthani or Pahadi or from Chinese or from Japanese, and I thought that let me bring it all together. It's a kind of a shrine where one could perhaps bring them all together. So all together we had something like 34 panels, and they were all to be painted. And there was an inside, but now there was no door. I did not want this one to have a blockage. I wanted people to walk through. So for walking through, you had to design a kind of a sanctum, but an open sanctum. So it is a passage. You walk through or you come back. That I decided to make it digitally. And so one was my favorite image of a speaking tree, because speaking tree allows you to incorporate as many images as you like. That was one. But along with that, I got two images from Fra Angelico, the two women who mourn when Christ is crucified. Not Madonna, but other two. I won't tell you who they are. But they are two women who you usually find in many paintings of crucifixion. And then I thought that I will have perhaps to think of what would this shrine represent. And first was journeys, the second was Ayodhya, that is Miraj, third one was alphabet stories, the fourth one was sort of miscellaneous. So I thought that here I would make it autobiographical, and I called it home. Doesn't mean necessarily, but home, idea of home. And I went home where I was born and I took photographs. And I found that the home that I knew had changed so much. In fact, in the street that I used to wander as a child was totally, different. And there was a cotton mill which was ruined. It was destroyed. And there were only ruins. So I took photographs of ruins, I took photographs of the streets, and I put it together. I took photographs of the city of Baroda. There is a lake called Sursagar. There is a large image of Shiva there. And I thought it's a good place. So